Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome to First Parish Unitarian Universalists of Arlington.
We choose.
We choose.
We choose to be
A liberal religious community.
Welcoming.
Welcoming to all.
We encourage each other
on our spiritual journeys.
Support one another.
Through the changes in our lives.
And challenge the excesses
and injustices of our time.
Called to love.
To love.
To love.
And upheld by joy.
We live our faith.
Let us take an opportunity to sit together, to pay attention to those sitting next to us, to the warmth of this day. Perhaps those of us here in the sanctuary, we could also feel the sweat flowing down our faces or our bodies. Let us take a moment to pay attention to our breathing, reminding us that we are still alive. And join me in this prayer together. Ground of all being, in the midst of all the shifting sand beneath us, continued warfare and our dependency on fossil fuels, the economic injustices of a new trillionaire class while healthcare subsidies are taken away, the amassing and consolidation of power while the majority of people suffer. May we be reminded of the power of faith over fear, that when our world is shaken to the core, that's when we fall to the ground of our being. To your love which knows no bounds, your hands which embraces the whole world, binder of wounds, heal us from our physical pain, from our emotional turmoils, and from the hypervigilance of our times. May we trust in that elusive yet persistent presence that draws us ever closer to you and to one another. May we, in our vulnerability, learn to lean on one another and to ask for help when we need it. In this moment of silence, our hearts join together to practice an ever-widening circle of compassion and loving kindness.
A reading, The True Love by David White. There is faith in loving fiercely the one who is rightfully yours, especially if you have waited years, and especially if part of you never believed you could deserve this loved and beckoning hand held out to you in this way. I'm thinking of faith now and the testaments of loneliness and what we feel we are worthy of in this world. Years ago in the Hebrides, I remember an old man who walked every morning on the gray stones to the shore of the baying seals, who would press his hat to his chest in the blustering salt wind and say his prayer to the turbulent Jesus hidden in the water. And I think of the story and of the storm and everyone walking and seeing the distant yet familiar figure far across the water calling to them. And how we are all preparing for that abrupt waking and that calling. In that moment, we have to say yes, except it will not come so grandly, so biblically, but more subtly and intimately in the face of the one you know you have to love. So when we finally step out of the boat toward them, we find everything holds us and everything confirms our courage. And if you wanted to drown, you could, but you don't, because finally, after all the struggle and all those years, you don't want to anymore. You simply had enough of drowning. And you want to live and you want to love, and you will walk across any territory and any darkness, however fluid and however dangerous, to take the one hand you know belongs in yours.
I want to thank the choir. That anthem was just stunning. Thank you so much. And I'm a lifelong Knicks fan. I can't get up here in this pulpit and not celebrate, even though I'm in Boston. The irony of that does not escape me. So Knicks in 5, hooray! Next year, maybe the Celtics will do it. We'll see. And so we begin. The poets, by which I mean all artists, are finally the only people who know the truth about us. Soldiers don't, statesmen don't, priests don't, union leaders don't, only poets. So said James Baldwin, and we are not going to argue with James Baldwin. The poet, David Whyte, knows the truth about us, that we are all children of God, for one. We who have waited years, possibly never believing we could deserve this loved and beckoning hand held out to us this way. I'm thinking of faith now. Oh, faith. Faith in loving fiercely, no less. I know that faith is one of those concepts that can throw a sanctuary full of Unitarian Universalists into a tizzy. Please open your hearts to my humble attempt to tamp down any potential tizzy. So I was tooling around Reddit, where someone posed the question, what is the Unitarian Universalist Church, and what makes it stand out from other religions? You heard a little bit about that in the story for all ages. We hold our bag open. We hold it in front of us. So I'm reading through the responses on Reddit, and the good news is that they aren't entirely awful. And then I crash into this one that says, in short, UUism is a non-creedal religion. We can all agree, right? Tell me. Yes, we can all agree, yes. Non-creedal religion. Goes on. It does not require faith. Oh, I'm so grateful for that response. Thank you for that. And I shout at my laptop, I think in a way that all of you would have done the same, non-creedal does not equal no faith required. Unitarian Universalism, I shout at my laptop, requires faith. Despite the misguided response to the question posed on Reddit, despite the Department of Defense's Christian nationalist decision to remove Unitarian Universalism from the military's list of recognized faiths. Yes, you missed that last week. See what happens when you don't come to church on Sunday? So for our shared purpose this morning, we're going to lean into one definition of faith. There are limitless definitions of faith, but we're going to lean on the one that Anne Lamott offers to us. Anne Lamott, who wrote a book that's actually subtitled Thoughts on Faith. And in that book, she says, I have a lot of faith, but I am also afraid a lot, and I have no real certainty about anything. I remember something Father Tom told me, she wrote, that the opposite of faith is not doubt, but certainty. Certainty is missing the point entirely. Faith includes noticing the mess, the emptiness and discomfort, and letting it be there until some light returns. It's the end of her quote. And so my invitation to you, at least this morning, is to resist certainty and instead to faithfully rest in the mess, the uncertainty, all that we cannot know as we consider faith in loving fiercely and what that means to us as Unitarian Universalists. So that's how we are beginning. We'll begin this investigation with a little check-in with Jesus, the turbulent Jesus, hidden in the water. We have to get this story under our feet in order to get to the truth upon which the poet stands, the truth about us, that is. This scene follows the miracle of the loaves and the fishes. After the crowd of 5,000 has dispersed, Jesus sends the disciples away on a boat, and he does not go with him. Instead, he goes to the top of the mountain to pray, exhausted and alone. Much later in the evening, there is a storm, and he is on the shore, and he sees the boat with the disciples in it in distress. And here is the story as it is told in the Gospel of Mark. The disciples were straining at the oars against an adverse wind. Jesus came toward them, walking on the sea. But when they saw him, they thought he was a ghost, and they cried out, for they were terrified. Immediately, he spoke to them and said, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." And then he got into the boat with them, and the wind ceased, and they were utterly astounded. So ends the reading. The poet says, "I think of the story of the storm, and everyone waking and seeing the distant yet familiar figure far across the water, calling to them. And then White takes us by the shoulders and shakes us awake. And how we are all preparing for that abrupt waking and that calling and that moment when we have to say yes. Like the disciples, we may be terrified, astounded, but we have to say yes. Yes to faith. Yes to resting in the mess, to acknowledging the chaos, to be comfortable, knowing that in the grand scheme of things, we do not know very much, but what we do know may be enough to get us through this tragic mess we are in our country, and perhaps the messes that we are in our personal lives, and perhaps for all of you of First Parish as a congregation, the inevitable mess that is a time of transition. But we can't say yes until we believe that we are prepared and deserve that loving hand beckoning us forth. We must quiet whatever inner voice, past trauma, past hurt, current confusion, in its wily persistence that wants us to remain on those stormy waters and in that boat. Imagine that as a congregation, that you are at least on the holy edge of prepared as you faithfully make your way to your future. To look at it another way, in this interim period, you have been invited to take the hand held out to you. Not Reverend Jonipher's hand literally, although his hand in yours is certainly part of that, but the hand that is being offered to you by faith. The hand that is living in community. The hand that assures you that you are inherently worthy and deserving of love. The hand that is the love that will not let you go. In the short time that I have been honored to be with you and serve you, I have been moved by your courage. And although you're still on that boat and the waters are still pretty choppy, I hope that you see you are beckoned forth by the light that shines from the shoreline. I hope you see that. You are making your way with the assurance that everything on that shore will hold you. Everything will affirm your courage. After all the struggle and all the time a faithful transition demands, ultimately, you want to live and you want to love. That is the truth about us, that we are all God's children and we all want to live and we all want to love. And in this moment, when the world is on fire, literally and figuratively, all of us have to say yes to the faith of loving fiercely. The moment, this one, is the one when we must stare down the chaos, the cruelty, stare down the despair that seeks to rot our lives from the outside in and threatens to consume us. Not today, Satan. We are stepping out of the storm by faith. Uncertain and afraid, sure, but we are choosing. By being here this morning, you are choosing another way, the way of faith that loves fiercely, the way that chooses community time and time and time again. You, the members and friends of First Parish here in the sanctuary, you at home, we have all prepared to say yes in very particular and faithful ways. Church is the place where we practice being who we really want to be, once said a seminary professor of mine, and I have repeated that countless times over the years. It's where we see how it feels to go the extra mile to help someone we may not even know. It's where we test the limits of our privilege and see how it might feel to give it up. It's where we are challenged by ideas that differ from our own, and we keep our belief bag open. We remain quiet a little longer than otherwise we might have, just to see how the ideas settle. It's where you applaud the 14-year-old kid who has mustered the courage to come out as genderqueer, and you make a commitment to learn more about what it means to be genderqueer. And congratulations on your 5 practices of welcome renewal. You just heard that. You'll hear more about it. It's where you sing the hymn that makes you cringe without griping. And you sing in full voice because the person next to you just said, "Oh, I love this hymn." It's where you bring the brownies that you managed to bake without gluten, dairy, sugar, or nuts, hoping that the allergic kid in the RE class you're teaching can partake in the feast. Church is where you are recreated over and over and over again. It's where you become, we hope, your best self because somebody loved you here. And that love turned brave as fire turns to powerful, powerful ministry. Your neighbors here in Arlington need your loving power. The world needs our loving power, friends, our soft, soft hearts. I'm talking about our faith now, our faith in loving fiercely, the faith that is simmering in the air today in this place, made sacred through memory and story, through the passing of stones. the fierce faith that refreshes our hearts and our souls. And so where I come from, we say, I wish you fair winds and following seas as you begin a new season in the congregational life that you share and that you create together. I wish for you the faith in loving fiercely. I'll see you in October. Amen and blessed be.